Recording. Okay, right. We have already created the customer class. We have already created the bank account class. We have already created these default constructor, the overload constructors, and also all these things, right? Now let's try to work on the rest, and that is creating the area for runnable transaction. Create a transaction class. The transaction class contains following attributes. Start. See, transaction class implements runnable interface. The transaction class contains following attributes. Private bank account. See, this is your own data type. This is coming from this class. So there's an account, then amount to withdraw it is double. Amount deposit, withdrawal amount, deposit amount, balance. Okay. Create a method called carryout transaction in the transaction class that does the following. See, carryout transaction. Retrieve account balance. See, if it doesn't mention about return type, make it void. See, it doesn't say what is the return type, so it has to be void. Retrieve account balance. Sorry, we use this account. Account balance. See, retrieve account balance. Assign to balance variable. Then modify the account balance by deducting the withdrawal amount and adding the deposit amount. Give me get just oh, I'm not sharing the screen, guys. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Yeah, I just realized. Oh man. Okay. Give me 10 minutes, guys. I need to take a break. There's a little emergency here. I want you guys to. I'll just show the screen. Just continue to code this transaction class. Okay. I'll come back. Just give me 10 minutes. right? Okay. So guys, type this thing into the coding. So basically, I'm looking at this PDF and carrying out the rest. It says here we have to have this class called transaction class, and it should implement runnable interface. I didn't add this part. So here you have to write implements runnable, right? And once you write like this, it's going to give an error because when you say implements, you are supposed to implement some function from this class. So you click this little balloon and you click this button called implement all abstract methods. That's what it wants. Otherwise, you can also just write this part like this. Manually, you can write at override. You need at override because it's coming from this class. At override means don't use the parent class function, use the current class function. That's what at override means. Run method. Why? Because if you remember correctly earlier when we were doing the multi-threading, when we were doing the threading classes, we said when you implement runnable, it becomes a taskable class. It becomes something that you can put on a thread, right? So remember, that's why we said you need to have this function run class. But there is nothing to be added yet. So then we added these objects. These some of them objects, some of them are variables. Here you can see these an object because it comes from our own data type. Bank account is an object, right? Others are primitive variables. Primitive means basic, integer, double, string. Those kind of things are called primitive. String is not a primitive. String is also object. This is also object. Why? Because it comes from a class. Then you have to create these variables by referring to this. See these things. It has these variables. Then it says here create a method called carryout transaction, and these are the things you have to do. Retrieve the account balance. So we have done that. And then it says here modify the account balance by deducting the withdrawal amount and adding the deposit amount. So if you already have a transaction, you will have the withdrawal amount, you will have the deposit amount already set. So what you have to do is this okay, carry out a transaction, modify the account balance by deducting the withdrawal amount. So now this is the current account balance, then the new account balance will be equal to deducting the withdrawal amount and adding the deposit amount. Current account balance minus, so this is a new balance actually, account balance minus deducting withdrawal amount and adding the deposit amount. Withdrawal amount, because I take this much, then I add this much, right? You are taking some money and also you're depositing some money. The order is not important, but according to the question, you have to deduct first, then you have to add. In the run method of the transaction class, so now we are in the run class. Now we are done with the function, this function, and now we have to do this function, run method, which is basically the multitasking part. So the run method gets automatically executed when we start coding for task or thread, right? These 2.5 here actually refers to the marks. Okay, this is how the marks are given. So I should have removed them, but just is roughly to give you an idea of how much marks it carries out. In the main function of your project, carry out the following. So now you are done with the run function. In the run method, this transaction, the method we just created, so this one. So the run method will basically carry out the transaction. What is this? This is called a method definition. This is a method definition, and this is a method call, right? You are calling this method. So automatically every time you run a transaction, it will get the current balance and it will create a new balance by subtracting the withdrawal amount by adding the deposit amount. That's how it runs, right? How much is there to deposit? How much is there to withdraw? And In the main function, create the following. So I'm moving on to the next. I'm moving on to the main function. Okay. Am I recording still? Oh my goodness! So those 10 minutes were also recorded. I'll just upload it. You make sure you skip it. You know, I don't want to edit these videos. It's double work. Okay, maybe I'll try. Video editor in Windows 10 is very easy actually. Okay, so now let's go to the main function. What is the main function? This is the main function. Assignment to example. So earlier you saw I used the main function to test out my code earlier to create some objects and to test it out. That you can see in the video. So follow video 1 when you are practicing this, and then go to video 2 because otherwise you will lose some stuff. In video 1 we have created some parts and we tested it. But according to the assignment, now only we are coming to the main class. Earlier we didn't come to the main class. So it's whatever we did in video 1 is just practice. You don't have to do it in the assignment. In the assignment, this is the only time you are coming to the main class. This is the only time where you are going to do the assignment. Main class starts here. So what does it say? Create an example customer with a name and ID card number. Customer, okay, for example, equal new customer. We have to give some information. Look at the customer. We have to give this information, ID card and then customer name. ID card, name. Okay, he actually gives his name like this, right? Then this is the customer. Then it says here, create a bank account for this customer. How do you create a bank account for this customer? See, the bank account class has, you give him an account number, you give him current balance with 0, the customer. So bank account, Fauzi account equal new bank account. And then into this, what do we have to give? An account number. And then we have to give a balance which is 0.0 to begin with. And who is the customer? Fauzi. Not Fauzi, Fauzi. Okay, not Fauci, Fauzi. Okay, that is this step. Create a bank account for this customer. Create two transactions. Two transactions. So how do you create transaction? You see, in the transaction class here, we have to create a transaction, and all you need to do is you need to create a transaction mentioning which account you are going to use, and also mentioning the withdrawal amount and the deposit amount you are going to use. So something else is missing here, and that is the constructor. It has not told you about the constructor, right? Transaction class has transaction class because you must have a constructor. This part is missing. So let's insert the coding for transaction. Insert the code for constructor. Include the account, withdrawal amount, and deposit amount. The balance we are not including because this comes after some amount money has been deposited, and by default it's 0. When you create it, you already have an account here. See, so this here you already have a bank account. Okay, so what did I do just now? I just added this function called constructor. Why? Because we need to create the constructor using this signature. You can copy this actually, it will be easier. So it says here, create two transactions. One transaction is withdrawing 10 rupiah from customer account. Okay, so what is the order? Transaction, this is the order. Transaction, transaction 1, T1, TR1 equal, transaction 1 equal new transaction. The bank account is this account, Fauzi's account, and then the amount withdrawal is 10 rupiah or $10, no problem. So 10.00, and it's only withdrawal, therefore the deposit will be zero. So we are not depositing any money, but you have to give some value here, right? 0.0. This is one transaction, and now we can copy this and we can create one more transaction, which is transaction 2, because it says here create a transaction 2. It deposits 100, so no withdrawal, 0.0, but it actually takes some money, which means 10, right? 10. Create two threads to carry out these two transactions. So let's run them in two separate threads, like concurrency. Why are we making threads? We are making threads because we are trying to make it look like two different people executing the transaction. So it's like one guy is doing a transaction, at the same time there's someone else who is doing the transaction somewhere else. Okay, maybe he is doing a transaction in another country, like that. So that's why we are making two independent threads. So thread 1 equal new thread. We put transaction 1 into this, we copy the same thing, and we add transaction 2, and this also is a new transaction, a new thread, two different threads for carrying out these two transactions. And then it says here create two transactions to carry out the transactions. Show how concurrent running of these two transactions could lead to an inconsistent account balance suggest, and show how this can be resolved using Java thread properties. That's the, this is the last question, is question number 8, and this is 30 marks. We just did 20 marks. Now what you do is this: start this thread, dot start, and the other thread also, thread 2 dot start. What should happen? See, we have 100. Oh, okay, the account balance should be, let's start with 200. 200, he has 200 in his account. This is 10 or 100? What is the deposit amount? 100. Okay, there's 200 originally. $200 minus 10 plus 100. This is how we are supposed to do this. Deposit, take in $10, adding $100. So this makes it to 190, and this makes it to 290. The balance should be 290. Why? Because we are taking $10, right? So let's run this. This one and this one are running at the same time, and this is a concurrent application. See, it's a concurrent application. Why? Because it's using threads. Run this application. We are forgetting something. We have to show the balance. Bank account details, customer, transaction, carry out transaction. Here we have to show the balance. Carry out the transaction. Bank account. Transaction 1. After you carry out the transaction, see, carry out the transaction. Something is missing here. I will fill these parts when I make your assignment. Actually, I forgot to add that part. In the carry out transaction, modify account balance. So after you modify the account balance, you have to say here this customer account dot set account balance as this, right? And then you have to print out account balance, and we can put a name actually here, account dot get customer, see, get customer dot get customer name plus, so this is a Fauzi account balance is, then we put a plus here, we say account dot dot get balance, get account balance. Okay, this we have to print, otherwise we don't know. So after transaction 1, that's the balance, and then also final balance. Is that how we do it? Okay, wait. 290. Run it again. 190. Look at this. Two transaction. Oh, I think there's a mistake here, right? Transaction 1 and transaction 2. Transaction 2 is correct, yeah. Look at this output. This is wrong. It must be 290. Run it again. 290. Run it again. 290. Sometimes it's correct. 300. See, this is wrong. Wrong. You can't have different amounts. 190, 290. See, that's wrong. So, see. Okay, so this is an example where synchronization has not been done. No synchronization has been done. Question number 8. Okay. So what I want you to guys to do is, let me just stop sharing. I'm going to give you guys this coding that I just completed, in case if you have not finished them. So into the today's module, let me rename the module. Okay, so I'll just stop recording also for now, because I want you to practice something.